Actually, Alan, I was hoping that if you can read the second thing from that diary you read, there was one line which was very like interesting. I felt, if you don't mind, Alan's busy perhaps. Yeah, we'll try him again.
Talking about Alan?
Yeah, Alan read something, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
I'll
the
read
one from the diaries.
it.
That
Here's
never.
something that we had. So, it being Adi's birthday, right? Tomorrow?
Yes, it's
Birthday
already
in India,
his
tomorrow in
birthday in
United
India.
States.
Yeah.
Here's something that people might not have heard of, but some of you, because I've mentioned it here before, but uh, Adi once told us this back in the early 70s. We used to go at the end of the day after these long, long days, we would go to Adi's office and hang out there till midnight or beyond, just kind of like these late night chats. And one time he told us he Adi was very knowledgeable about God Speaks. He read it very thoroughly. And one of the things that Baba says in there, he describes some of the roles of the mandali. You know, there's certain roles. There's someone that plays the role of Peter, and that was Erich. And you know, you play. He plays that role for this Advent, and next Advent, someone else will play the role of Peter. And he said that Bao Kalchuri, you know, Baba said was played the role of John of the fourth gospel, and someone else will play that role. But he was very surprised when Baba told him one time that Mara is always the same one, meaning that Mara, no one comes back and plays the role of Mara each time, a different person. Mara is always the same one.
I knew it.
Yeah. So she
Yes.
was Mary, she was Radha, she was Sita,
Okay.
all the different ones. It's the same. Uh, Basically, truly the feminine counterpart of Baba. And so, I mean, I felt that too. I mean, I had never met anyone quite like Mara. I mean, it's like she came from heaven down. And Erich, as magnificent as he was as a human being, it was, you had the sense that he came from the muck up. You know, he rose up from the swamp, so to speak. But Mara was, the interior of Mara for me was just heavenly. I mean, I picture her like, if you imagine like a huge building with windows all around. If you went into Mara through the door, you would go all the way through to the other side of this building. There were no internal walls. There was no vortex of an ego in there. It was, you know, it was spacious and heavenly.
Jeff,
Yeah.
where was this just verbally given to you
Yeah.
through
He gave it.
through Erich or Adi? Through
This was
Adi.
Adi, and he told
Adi.
other people the same thing. We compared notes,
Mm-hmm.
and so why didn't this get out? And I think it didn't get out, you know, in the whole Baba world because people would have besieged Mara for the last 20 years of her life if they had known how truly her real stature. They would have been. It would have been hard to keep people away from her.
So after he told you this, did he
But
ask you to keep it to yourself?
no, he didn't. But you know, a lot of things back then were not recorded. Everything that was said by the Mandali just disappeared into thin air. They didn't have, you know, recording things around. So anyway, that was,
I'm sorry, I'm just joining in. I'm sorry to interrupt. What was, would you mind just repeating quickly what was this that Eric said about?
no, what
Jake,
Aaron,
you cannot know. It's a secret. We have to keep it from you.
I'll just have to watch the recording, I guess.
he's from Pennsylvania. Give him a break, you know.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying again that I don't know if you've read God Speaks, where there's someone that Babas talks about. Someone plays the role of Peter,
Yeah.
Erich, and someone played the role of John, which was Bal Kalchuri. And each Advent, a different person plays that role. And Adi was very familiar with this, you know, he was very familiar with a real student of God Speaks. But one day Baba said that Mara is always the same one.
Uh-huh.
Each Advent, it is Mara. Mara was Mary, Sita, Radha, whatever the feminine counterpart of each Advent, that's always been Mara.
Mm-hmm. So is it the same idea, like the same, kind of like the avatar is always one and the same? This is the same idea, but this is the female version of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he say whether she reincarnates every?
She's not reincarnating. She's a descent, direct descent.
Yeah.
When
Anyway, that's
she
what he
comes,
said.
when the avatar comes, right?
Yeah.
Lucky girl.
And what's great is this is really an eternal love that they have. I mean, really eternal.
Wow. No wonder she's the only one that can love Baba the way he wants to be loved. Yeah.
Yeah, because she's able, you know, and the other ones, they only love them, and then they leave creation, you know, see, but Mara has you know, hers is eternal love, you know.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, and
That's such a sacrifice, because to come every time with the avatar and suffer for him in his suffering is such a big sacrifice, you know, without, you know, completing the full journey.
Yeah, when Baba had the accident in 52 and Mara was profoundly injured, Baba said that she took on half of the suffering, which, you know, Baba saying to the Mandali, you couldn't even, you know, experience a fraction of my suffering. And here Mara took on half of the suffering. Yeah.
I don't know who said without completing the journey. She's way done. She's done. She just comes with Baba. It's not a matter of completing a journey.
Yeah, I was there when she passed on, and you know where we laid her down in the grave beside Baba. But inside there was a photograph of Baba, and there were hundreds of people there, and they would see Baba, and then Mara's image would come, and then it would switch to Baba and back to Mara and switch to Baba. The photograph in the tomb. People were experiencing that.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't know what I just told you, but they actually had the experience of their really kind of being one and the same.
Yeah, but by journey, I meant, you know, Baba talks about the 4 journeys in God Speaks, and in the 4th journey, they are just done. They don't come back ever.
Yeah.
But to come back with the avatar and undergo that suffering, it's such a sacrifice.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. So we have to get Alan out of his you know, hiding. And Jake, what you got on tap tonight?
Oh, I just started reading Meher, or is it the other way around? Mehera, at the biography of Mera, and it's a wonderful book. I've only gotten to a couple pages, but it's a wonderful story. I like it very much.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the first time I would say in any Advent that we get the entire women's side of Baba's life.
Hmm.
It's
Oh, I like
mainly,
that.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's funny, I never felt connected to Mera. It's like I feel like of all the Mandali, I have found her the most difficult one for me to connect to or feel connected to. So I've really appreciated this opportunity that I've been given to read the books. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, she was more knowable than, I mean, you didn't meet her, right?
No.
Yeah. She would have been more knowable to you than you would think.
Yeah.
Not up on a some elevated state. She was very present.
She was very focused on Baba, though. Absolutely focused. The human side of she was loving, but her focus was Baba, as
Yeah.
maybe
Oh,
more so than the others. So, and I was going to comment now that I came back, by the way. Gunnerwalla sent me back. As the avatar is eternal and comes back and back again, so this his consort then is this eternal soul. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
That's what
mentioned what
Baba told Adi.
Hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
Someone's doing dishes.
there's
My good friend.
this passage that I'm going to try to find in the book in the very beginning. So you could carry on, but I'm going to read it when I do.
Okay.
And it's such a sweet description and encounter between Mera and Baba. Something it really touched my heart.
Yeah. I think I read that exchange I had with Mara that had a real meaningful effect on my life.
The one about learning a deeper sense of what love really is.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you folks have heard that. So
It's a wonderful exchange.
I could hear it again. I haven't heard it.
oh, you say that all the time. It just makes
Read it again, Jeff. Come on. Read it.
I'll see if I can find it.
Okay.
Because it was a real the thing about, hey, how did that happen?
They are like bedside stories. I mean, you just have to keep doing them over again.
Something.
We had a 3-hour board meeting, so I'm.
Ooh,
But
circle
I'm
of
gonna
friends.
Yeah, I'm gonna read Jeff my latest Hafez when I get situated.
Oh, good. I'm a real junkie.
I know, I love it. You're my prime motivator.
So I found the passage.
Good. Go for it.
This is called One Morning. It's in the very beginning of the book. It says, one morning at Upper Marabad in the kitchen, I was standing in the corner near Baba. I had given him something. I looked at him to see what he was doing. I saw him seated so quietly. Baba looked so dear and beautiful to me. His smooth cheeks looked so lovely after shaving, so smooth, so silky. I came near. I didn't know how to embrace him. I felt so much love that I put my cheek on Baba's cheek and pressed my cheek against his for quite a few seconds. Baba just sat there. I looked up in his eyes. He looked straight at me with such a tender, loving look in his eyes. There was a very sweet and tender expression in his eyes. It was very beautiful. Something when you felt that way. Sometimes when you felt that way, you wanted to kiss and embrace Baba. I still remember him. I still remember that. It has remained in my mind all this time. And so when Betty, you were sharing how much Mara would focus on Baba, it really made me think of this passage, because this, just how much she's focusing and notices the minute details of just the freshly shaven cheek and the smooth silky skin and the longing to hug and kiss Baba. It just was it so speaks to her intent and focus on Baba, and I find that absolutely beautiful. And then even just how much Baba would love her back to allow that exchange to take place. I don't know I never met Baba, but I just felt like that's an opportunity that not many other people would get, even other Mandali necessarily would have gotten, to have such an intimate relationship in that way. And maybe I might be, I don't know, but anyway, that's just the feeling I got from reading that was, wow, how amazing that love and relationship is between Mara and Baba.
Beautiful, yeah. Oh,
We're so fortunate that David Fenster took this intense, this deep look and shared this. He had such a access, such a vantage point to share these stories, being there, living in the Bowes family. We're just lucky that he committed himself to this. It's a big work.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is.
Did David Fenster get to have Baba's version by any chance?
no. Nope, he didn't. He lived in Oklahoma.
Okay.
I am trying to find this. It's amazing. I'm going to find it soon.
Meanwhile, some food for thought, basically. I've heard people talking about this 20-year cycles with respect to Baba's drawing his lovers close to him. Anybody knows anything about it?
No.
They always say 1969, the first group, and then 20 years after, the second group, and add 20 more years to it, then you have another. So slowly the circle keeps on expanding. And I remember having heard from very reliable source, and I just don't know where it is, but I think it may be Bob who said, or I don't know. I'm just trying to, suddenly it came to my mind, I don't know why. So I thought I'd just throw it out there to see if...
So are you saying that people come in 20-year, in waves and 20
Yeah,
years?
in waves, yes. So initially those who are very close to him, and then they'll be the second circle or the first circle, however you number it. They'll get inspired by the ones who have been in touch with Baba to begin with, the first circle, and then the second and the third, and so on and so forth, the 20-year cycle.
Wow, that's really beautiful.
Yeah, I wish I can. If I find it anywhere, I'll try to get it. I don't think it's perhaps recorded. I'm not so sure. If anything, it could be in one of the Bhav's books. Avatar Baba Manifesting or something like that, I guess. I'll have to find it.
When you think that many of us may have come, well, I look around at some people, I won't name any names, but they are amazing workers and lovers of Baba. They have to have been around before. And I've known Baba longer than they have, but wow. So So it's kind of blows the notion that the people closest come and then next closest and next closest. I think some of that.
Yeah.
Some people that I know have to have been around before.
Yeah.
I think we've all been with Baba. Hey, I found this. Should I read it? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. Here it goes. I absorbed in a very natural way many profound truths in being with the Mandali. One example of this came in a way that on the surface wouldn't be obvious at all, and this happened one day at Merazad with Baba's beloved Mera. It was back in the early 70s when I was young and immature. Mera was standing on the porch of the main house, saying goodbye to a young woman whose pilgrimage had come to an end. She was on her way back to the West. I was there just to say goodbye for the day before going back to Mehrabad. Mera lovingly encouraged the young woman to take Baba with her, not to worry, that Baba would take care of her, and at one point she said, sometimes we feel empty and depressed, but we know Baba wants us to be cheerful, so we make efforts to be cheerful. This made a profound impression on me. I thought to myself, she is the beloved of the beloved, and she has been shoulder to shoulder with the source of all love, and yet she doesn't always experience a joyous heart full of Baba's love. I concluded, then love must be something different from what I had thought. Up to that point, I took the feeling of Baba's love in my heart as a sign that I was on the right track. Baba was with me. And when I would lose that feeling, I would agonize over what I must have done wrong. I'd struggle to get the feeling back. But after this small exchange with Mera, I rarely ever worried again about how I was feeling. I never felt bad if I experienced emptiness or sunk into a low mood. I was able to see after that love was on a different track. It came from a different dimension within me. I would notice, for example, in times when I felt depressed or sad, my mood never prevented me from responding to a situation with love. Love was not dependent upon my mood or the state of my feelings. It was independent. Over time, I came to experience my consciousness, to use a metaphor, as the Earth's atmosphere, and the moods and emotional states are like weather systems passing through it. If I identified with a storm in the atmosphere, I would be buffeted around by winds. But if I didn't identify with a storm, it would pass through me and I would not be pulled in. Years later, I began to see moods and emotional states like the seasons. It is not possible to stay in the springtime of moods like many spiritual groups advocate. Spring has to give way to summer, where things heat up and a listlessness sets in. Then in fall, the natural world begins to shut down. The temperatures cool in a way that's invigorating. But that doesn't last. Winter comes, and everything dies back. There can be an emptiness, and nature appears lifeless. And all the time, Baba's love is behind the cycle of emotional seasons, untouched, independent, ever accessible to us. How amazing that such a seemingly minor scene, with only a few words spoken, such a profound truth about moods and feelings was communicated, which has made such a difference in my life. But I know well that Baba's close mandali are completely linked to the divine, and so many deep truths naturally just flowed from them, whether they were aware of it or not. Later I read where Baba had said to Arnavas Dadachanji, who was complaining to Baba that she wasn't feeling him. He said, I never said to feel me, I said to love me.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Jeff, is this from your book?
I'm not thinking of a book, but for some reason, I've been writing
I think you're writing a book.
some things down.
I was going to ask the same question, actually. So I think
I have
thought of something.
Well, I haven't been inclined all these years, but oddly enough, I got into writing, well, because of this pandemic. I got a little more time, folks.
Well, we're going to encourage each other to move forward.
Well, let's listen to at first. What did you have any questions about that? I mean, was that clear enough?
Yeah. Oh, I think that was very clear. And what I love is, for me, what I get out of that, what I love and feel very tickled by at the end is just how much I can feel, how my attachments to my moods and my feelings is related to my dependence on my ego. Like how much I take that to be the real part of me and to give me real information and feedback rather than knowing the deeper side of myself, that those aren't the real states of my being. And I have some experience and developed some capacity to try to disassociate from those moods and feelings, but I can still feel how strongly attached I am. And I just love the mental image of, going from sitting inside of a ball to going to sitting outside of a ball. And the inside of the ball is my emotions and feelings, and outside of the ball is being capable of watching it all happen rather than being associated with it. And I long for that, that experience. But I interestingly enough, as I picture this in my, from an emotional space, like if I'm picturing my feelings of what that would be like, I find myself being kind of stoic and stone-like, which is what Baba doesn't want from us. He doesn't want us to become emotional stones and be disconnected from our feelings, but to be detached from them. So feel them, but then not act from them, not react from them or to them, I suppose. And that's, I think I've got some work there, because it's not about being stoic. It's about feeling, but not being swayed or pushed around. And that's, man, that is a balance and a half, I tell you.
But well said. Baba said, I ran across a quote more recently where Baba said, emotions and feelings are the creation of energy and mind. Love is the creation of the soul. They're just on they're in different spheres. Emotions and feelings are the creation of energy and mind. Love is the creation of the soul. So it comes from the other, a different dimension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to ask you, Jeff, do you feel like you still have a lot of, attachment to your feelings and emotions, or do you feel like you have let so much of that go that it's not really, an issue anymore for you particularly?
Well, I don't take them so personally. I mean, it's taking them personally that gets us into trouble.
Yeah.
I don't put so much stock in. I mean, I'm a feeling person, but I don't put the expectation that my feelings have to be a certain way. If they're this way now, that's fine. If they're that way later, that's fine. I'm not trying to. I can tolerate a wide range of feelings without having to try to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Or deny them.
Right.
I once followed anxiety in myself for 4 months. That's the kind of guy I am. I mean, in and through my day, I was tracking it, not with my mind, but with my awareness. Just following it. It's coursing through my body. And at the end, I didn't get rid of anxiety, but I became friends with it. It didn't bother me.
Interesting. See, like I get, I just started. This is the end of my first week of school, teaching, and I can't tell you how many times I've had that sense and feeling of anxiety. And so you're saying that you wouldn't even try to like deep breathe, trying to like center yourself, get yourself untangled from wanting to react to that. That state of anxiety, or were you saying that you and so therefore you just sat in it, you felt it and didn't try to do anything with it? Because here I am trying to breathe and trying to center myself so I can like think and have access to feelings of other things besides just the anxiety or whatnot.
No, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I just decided to go after it one day, but or it turned out to be 4 months. But no, I mean, if you can say Baba's name and kind of move into the deeper part of yourself and leave anxiety behind, hey, that's good.
So you mean when you say to try to do something with it, you're just saying like trying to block it or trying to funnel it into, well, I don't even know what.
Yeah, or even sublimate it. Sublimate it by remembering Baba and getting into a space of love. You can leave the anxiety behind for the time being.
Yeah.
Still caught on your pant leg, but
Right.
like a briar. Yeah.
So like what would be an example of trying to do something with that level, with like just anxiety since we're on that topic, what would be an example of doing something with it that wouldn't be wouldn't be helpful or moving in the direction of, deepening in yourself or, growing in your capacity to tolerate the feeling and whatnot, besides just trying to like push it away or whatnot? I'm just curious what your experience would have been of doing something with it.
You mean doing something with?
So if I heard you correctly, you were saying like you in the state of working with your anxiety or being with your anxiety, you were just with it. You weren't trying. You said you weren't trying to do anything with that feeling of anxiety.
Yeah.
And so I just was curious, like what would be an example of things that you would do that you didn't do, like anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I don't quite. It's funny. I'm not quite getting your question. I just followed it. I wasn't trying to do anything with it. I was just trying to be aware of it.
Right.
And watch its movement in me, especially in my heart area or below my heart area.
Okay. I guess I just was maybe looking for what the ego reactions are, so that as just a state of awareness in my own attempt to work with my feelings. So I think that's maybe a better clarifying question, like what your ego. I thought maybe you were making claims about what your ego reactions would be, but maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't quite get what you're saying. But sublimating anxiety is all right. I mean, like I say, I decided to kind of explore it or whatever, follow it. But but for your purposes, you may want to just sublimate it into doing the studying and do the prep work, and rather than being anxious about the class, you do the prep work and you get out of the anxiety. There are a lot of different ways of getting out of anxiety.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, because I know
I didn't feel any less for having anxiety, like I'm less of a person because I'm feeling anxiety. So I didn't have that problem with it. It's an irritant. I mean, it's definitely, I'd rather not have it there during those months, but I was my exploratory tracking of it kept me kept it from bothering me. I mean, I wanted to know about it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I know there's like, you can work with things by, like you say, sublimating it, or there's also, I know you can work with things by going through the experience. Like there can be information in going through it. There's some valuable stuff there. So yeah, I understand that part.
But I was putting Baba's name into it as I went along too, but that just happens naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, but we got Fereshteh is gonna come up with a Hafiz here,
Yes.
and this could change Alan's life.
Where is Alan?
He's over in the corner somewhere.
I'm here.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
All right,
Okay.
it's a long one. It's got 11 couplets or whatever you
Yeah.
call these things. But it's good. My eyesight is going from bad to worse, so
Uh-huh.
shall I be grateful to that beloved of mine or complain to him? If you are a connoisseur of love, then listen well to this tale. Any service I may have rendered has been without expectation or reward. May God never leave anyone who serves without reward. No one gives a sip of water to the thirsty wrens. It is as if all those who can recognize a Wally have left town.
Wait, now stop there a second. A wren? You mean the bird or
Rend is the
wren?
the rogue, the
Scoundrel,
Sufi.
right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, go back and read that again. Yeah.
Yeah, the person who doesn't give a rap about
Yeah.
religious custom.
Yeah.
No one gives a sip of water to the thirsty wrens. It is as if all those who can recognize a Wali have left town. Do not wrap yourself around his hair, O heart. You will find many cut off heads there who committed no crime. How can one fathom the end of this road when in the beginning there are more than 100,000 stations ahead? With your approval, your playful eyes wreaked bloody havoc with us. Oh, dear soul of my soul, it is not right to protect a murderer. Although you caused my disgrace, I will not leave your door. Tyranny from the beloved is far more pleasing than consideration from the pretender. O brilliant son of lovers, I am burning from within. Fit me into the shelter of your grace for just an hour. In this dark night, I have lost my way to the goal. O my guiding star, come out of your hiding corner and help me. Every direction I turn to, my fear is increased. Avoid this desert and this endless path. It is only love that can come to your rescue, even if, like Hafez, you recite the Quran by heart in 14 different tunes.
Read that last couplet again.
It is only, okay, I'll read the last two.
Yeah.
Every direction I turn to, my fear is increased. Avoid this desert and this endless path. It is only love that can come to your rescue, even if, like Hafez, you recite the Quran by heart in 14 different tunes.
Wow. Beautiful translation, Fereshteh.
Pretty outrageous, isn't it?
Yeah. Great.
This is Ghazal 87.
No, I like that sentence where it says, "Do not protect the murderer." It's so beautiful, so beautiful.
Yeah, so beautiful. I mean, so intense. The way, the intimacy with God, and to speak this way about your beloved, to me is incredible.
Well, that's a good one.
Hey, hey, it's Matt Kursky there.
That is the Matt Kursky. That's right.
Oh my God. Hey, that's fantastic.
It
Is
is. It
or
is.
or your sister? Hey,
Hey, no, it's not my sister.
no,
Hey
I was
guys.
thinking of Jake's sister.
Oh yeah, it is Jake's sister. She wants to say hi real quick.
Hey, fant.
Hi.
Hello, hello. Hey, great to see you.
Hi, hi, Jeff. J
Yeah,
Baba.
hey, Baba. Wow, fantastic. I
Mhm.
bet Matt has been selling plants hand over fist, right?
The market's out of control.
Yeah, I
We can
know, I
barely
know.
keep up.
People got into gardening over the pandemic, so that was that helped you, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people staying at home, making their places beautiful with the flowers.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Good to see you.
Yeah, great to see you.
Where are you all from?
Nashville, Tennessee, right now. That's where we call home. So
Yeah, Matt's family has a nursery in the downtown area. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
yeah.
Good to see you, and
Yeah.
I hear you're
Jess.
kind of expecting something too.
Jessica. Hey.
Yeah, I'm there's
Oh my God. Yeah, beautiful.
yeah.
There's a little
So
one in there
Jake's
too.
gonna be an uncle here pretty soon. Yeah,
That's right. This is my first blood-related unclehood.
yeah.
Hi, Jake.
Hey Jake.
Hi.
Hi, Jessica.
Is that Lanita? Hi, honey.
Yes. Hi. How are you again? You look so beautiful. Oh,
Oh shit.
Thank you.
one more month, right?
Yeah.
Next month.
Like a month and a half. Yeah, October
you're-
27th.
And you're probably
Yay.
and Matt's probably gonna make you, give it a name like Veronica or Tulip or something like that. Something out of the
We,
garden.
we did go through a lot of nature names like Angelica Moss or
Yeah.
Amanda Stone. There's too many to choose from.
Bougainvillea.
Yeah, right. we landed.
That's
Not
the
a-
name right there. Bougainvillea, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys were on here a couple months ago. You were visiting with Jake, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Visiting
I
Pennsylvania
remember.
for a baby shower.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Wow.
Yeah. Good to see you guys.
Jeff, we did name her, by the way. Her name's Ava. Ava Marie.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, Ava Marie,
Ava
yeah.
Marie, okay. I
So
like
no,
that.
no plant names in this one, but maybe the next one.
Yeah.
I lost this battle, but I won't.
Yeah. Next time,
Yeah. All right.
J Bob, everybody.
Bye,
We're going to be listening in while we also get ready for bed.
Yeah. Okay. You take it easy.
Thanks.
Great seeing you.
Yeah.
Bye, Jess.
Hey, Bob.
Love
Like-
you.
Love you,
Bye.
Yeah. Wow. Yep. We've known there have been kids coming to the center when they were little. Even Jake, they're all come bounding on the center, and now they're out in the world making the world a better place and with kids of their own. Yeah.
Yeah. I have this story about being at the Baba Center as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very quick, very short. But I think the first time I went to the Baba Center, I was around 5 or 6 years old, and I don't remember having much of a knowledgeable connection with Baba at that time. But I to some level I enjoyed the center. It was easy to get bored there as a kid back then, but I really enjoyed being at the center. But one of the things that always stood out as I was falling asleep, for a year or two after first visiting the center, or maybe even second time visiting the center, was every time I'd put my head down on the pillow to fall asleep as a kid, I would hear my heart beating through the blood vessels in my ear. And that sound was, to me, very similar to the sound of my feet walking on the stone path leading up to, say, like the refectory or somewhere else on the center. So as a kid, I would fall asleep feeling very comforted, thinking about being at the center, not realizing, not realizing that that was such an already an intimate connection for me and Baba before I, came to feel connected to Baba as a teenager. But just that thought that I would fall asleep to the sound of my feet walking on the Baba center as a kid was just a wonderful, wonderful experience.
Yeah, great. Yeah, lovely. No, these deep associations, even the sound of the tree frogs or the smell of honeysuckle, very vivid, take you right to the center sometimes. Yeah. Alan, what you got on tap over there?
Oh, just my cat. I was looking at my cat, but I've been wondering today about when Bob says, "Dwell in me." When he says the words "dwell in me" or "turn to me," and there's a lot of different paragraphs and different things I've read him say that, "Turn to me, dwell in me," or in unfathomable ways. I lead you to liberation, and just that constant coming back to him. Yeah, I want to share. I can't stop reading from this book, but if you don't mind, I'd like to share this. This is from number 12 from 40 Messages from Meher Baba. My love goes out to you in measureless abundance. I have been waiting for you for eons. I know the ache of your heart. I will wipe out your tears. You will dwell in me in life everlasting. Take courage in your hands. Smite with all your might, and your desire self will meet its death. Be your own higher self.
Great.
Yeah. So that terminology of you will dwell in me in life everlasting. What does that mean to? It's sort of an open question, but I'm just curious what other people find. If you feel like sharing, just what other people find that for them. Like, how do you find that for yourself? Turning to Baba or dwell. How do you dwell in Baba? It's particular. You're dwelling in him. He's within. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Kind of like that line I read today about the wine with what was it? The chalice and the wine, and I'll have to go look for it. It was like it's wine is in the chalice, chalice is in the wine. It's like they're one and the same. There's no separation. It's all one. So we have no choice but to dwell in him eternally, because that's all there is. How can it be elsewhere? We just have to be aware, become aware that that's what's going on, really.
Yeah, if you can imagine when you were in early childhood, the world where there was a kind of a oneness in early childhood. You didn't have much of a concept of yourself or the future or the past. Everything was kind of merged, and then you start to get educated and you learn about right and wrong and good and bad and rich and poor, and suddenly we're separate from the world around us. But for an early time we are kind of merged. And then I feel Bob is leading us back into that experience where everything starts to merge into a oneness.
Our perception changes.
Yeah. Yeah, we're already there. It's becoming aware that we're really everywhere, as Baba said. But what keeps us from realizing we're everywhere is this, that we have this construct of I am separate. If the separate would drop out, then you are everything. And all it is a mental a construct that we have created that had its value in our evolution. But when that separation goes, then we go back to existence. There's a line from Rumi where he says, if the door of your soul were to open for an instant, you would see that the heart of every existent thing is your intimate friend. If the door, not the door of your heart, now if the door of your soul were to open for an instant, you would see that the heart of every existent thing is your intimate friend. Everything is you with a capital Y.
Say it again.
Everything is you with a capital I when the separateness drops out. The me and other. Right. Me and other. Lover and beloved. when that separation is given up.
So this begs the question, since we were talking about Mara earlier, it appears as though when they come down, they put on this show of separation so that they can re-experience the unity. What's up with that? I mean, they're already one.
Well, Maharaji used to say that Baba's ignorance was something to behold. It wasn't like human ignorance. There was an ignorance about Baba where he would say, how did you get here? How did you hear of me? He could say that, and it was completely true, even though he knows everything. Because if he said, oh, well, Fereshteh, I know all about you. I know how you came to me. You don't need to tell me anything. I know it all. Then it's no fun. There's no, in fact, you'd be very self-conscious. But they said his ignorance, in fact, Balnatu used to call Baba's ignorance, he used to call it omni-ignorance. Omni-ignorance.
I love it.
But it was something beautiful. That ignorance could be beautiful. And that enables him to be with us and play and come down to our level and be like us. How could somebody who's all-knowing be all ignorance at the same time? If you're God, you can do things like that.
So in other words, if I can try to answer my own question, that veil of ignorance was placed on Mara and the other Mandali. It was just a veil.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the Mandali, they had the veil, and it was, was getting eroded away. But I think with Mara, Mara was so loving, radiates such love. She didn't need to know anything because love knows everything.
And from the beginning, she was most innocent.
Yeah.
From the very beginning.
And she was even, I felt she was very innocent even at the end. Kind of shy in some ways. Yeah. But we got to, let's see what Alan, oh yeah, Alan, you go back to what you were saying there. How do you handle being a human being and divine at the same time?
Well, I mean, I was thinking in terms of when you answered and then Fereshteh answered, like that we, yes, in fact, we, as some part of us intellectually knows that we are in, we're dwelling in him because he's literally everything. But in terms of the times and period of times and moments in our life where, because we're not perfect, where we don't experience, I feel like as Baba lovers, for example, because we even know of Meher Baba, we have had some experience on some level, even if it's the 100th shadow of him. We've touched, he's touched our hearts in such a way where we've been overwhelmed and experienced some aspect of him that keeps us coming back and remembering him again and again and wanting to do so, because everything else is not as real anymore, because everything else is falling away slowly but surely, like castles made of sand. We just can't deny that Meher Baba is that truth. So, but when we are in those moments of not experiencing him, then then we must not consciously be necessarily, I would say, dwelling in him in those moments. So then I guess my question is, what is the practicality for those of us who are living our daily lives to come back to dwell in him? And then when we start to dwell in to the illusion again, then we start to dwell in him, for him to say, you will dwell in me in life everlasting, take courage in your hands, smite with all your might. It's like, it's sort of like on the the framework of effort and grace. It's like we do have to have some effort in order to experience those moments of dwelling within him consciously. You know what I mean? It's like, so I was just curious about what are people's practical ways of on the daily, like dwelling with him, in him, tuning. He even uses the words like tuning into his rhythm. Doesn't he say that? My rhythm
Yeah.
of truth shall redeem you. It will open your heart. It will give you new love. Yeah. So that's also another peculiar point. But yeah, I just wondering if on your daily life, where are you with that in terms of dwelling with him? Is it
For me, if I could
thoughts?
answer it,
Yeah.
Sure.
for me, it's always referring to my heart, literally referring to my heart. And that helps bring me to where he is.
Good. Yeah. And
rather than up here. We're mostly up here.
Mhm.
But when I focus my attention to the heart, then I am
nearest to him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The deeper heart, the deeper region of the heart. Yeah. I mean, Darwin used to say, and I've repeated this many times, sooner or later you discover you're nobody, and that is not an unhappy discovery.
What does that mean? So you're nobody.
When you're nobody, you're kind of empty, and then Baba can live in you. When you're kind of hollowed out, when you're just a shell, then
Right.
he can dwell in you. He can inhabit you. So, but you got to, we have to clear out the warehouse and get a lot of that stuff out of there. But there, You know, there was a famous scene of there's Saint Catherine of Siena was a Catholic saint, one of Baba's favorite, and she in Jesus appeared to her in a vision, and she said to Jesus, "Who am I, and who are you?" And Jesus said, "I am he who is, and you are she who is not." And yet they're both there.
Man.
I love that.
I mean, it's like, oh man, if I'm nothing. The thing is, when Darwin says, you know, sooner or later you discover you're nobody, and that is not an unhappy discovery. Then you don't have to become somebody. You're freed of having to become somebody, either a spiritual somebody or a somebody in the world. You're relieved of that anxiety, that stress, that profound preoccupation. And then, oddly enough, you move around wherever you're supposed to go. You've given up the reins of your life, and so love moves you around. It moves you over here, it moves you over there, you back up from there, you go forward there, you climb up there, you go down below there. Like little kids, they don't go, you know, little kids say, "Oh, wow, what am I going to do today? I better write down a list of things I'm going to do." They just step out of the house and, you know, love takes them all different places. I'm talking about early childhood, before you start, before the mind starts working.
So this is I mean, does this require immense, what does it mean then when Baba says like this will require immense sacrifice?
To get to that inner place?
Sure, yeah, like
Yeah.
slowly
Yeah.
but surely we're kind of being, you know,
Yeah, I mean,
dissolved.
we have to kind of give up all these attachments. Basically, Darwin used to say, withdraw the tentacles of consciousness from being enmeshed in the world, being enmeshed in fame, in, you know, security and everything, being enmeshed in the personality self. I'm so and so. Don't you know who I am? Your tentacles of consciousness withdraw from that, and eventually the consciousness is just there. And that consciousness fills up with Baba. It's not committed to anything. What Baba calls causeless joy. It's not dependent or contingent upon anything outer.
Which is like the opposite of how we live how, you know, one usually lives your daily life. It's like usually there's a cause, like I had a cup of coffee, I went on a nice walk, and today was a good day, or it was raining and it was cold and it was a bad day, you know, like there's all these
it's all conditions, you know,
conditions, right? Conditional.
Yeah. It's kind of getting to the conditionless. But the trouble is, what I've found, if you go deep into the mind, you get to the void or emptiness. If you go to the deep into the heart, you get fullness. It depends. And so a lot of people, when they go deep within, they might go into the emptiness or the void, and that's not fun. That, you know.
Yeah.
But to go deep into the heart is fullness.
What I like about that too is that touches on the ending of what you read, Alan, where it was something like along the lines of make yourself your own higher self, or something like that. What was the last the ending line of that passage, Alan?
Let me see if I can find that real quick. Yeah.
Become your higher self, or
be your own higher self.
Yeah, because I had what I really feel that statement internally when I can kind of tap into like my deeper heart space, like what you were talking about, Jeff, that deeper heart space, and from there, me focusing on trying to connect with my deeper heart, I feel like that's me being my own higher self, like that's me focusing on God within myself.
Yeah.
And I can really identify with that. I really like that particular line. And it's like, identifying that place, but to get there, I have to try to kind of avoid getting caught up in the other feelings that I have, the other layers of myself. It's like, it's interesting because, and also what I like about that is because it takes me away from focusing on God outside of myself, which has been my habit for so long.
Yeah.
And is really helping me to shift it and bring it internally, which I am grateful for.
Yeah, no, that's a beautiful thing. To me, you can't go wrong doing that. To go into that deep heart space.
Yeah. I can sustain it for a couple seconds, but I appreciate getting to try.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, Jake. That I find that there's like for me those moments where I flip. I can feel him in my heart. I feel just there with him, and it's so consuming to my surroundings and everything that's happening, and I feel him living in all of this. And then in a split second, it could just literally be somebody, calls me on my phone during work and they're just in a totally different mindset, and it could just get shaken from it. I don't know. I think of when Baba says like, be like a rock, like and that can resist the blasts from all four corners of the world. And I'm like, oh man, that's not where I'm at. I'm like, still just like, oh man, whoa, it's like a shocking sensation to be in all
like
of this.
A feather in a hurricane.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I mean, all this though, we do have a solid place within. If and if you can get there, life is it simplifies life tremendously, and it's full of substance. Yeah.
I like how you say simplifies. That implies spaciousness.
Yeah.
To me, it implies spaciousness.
And
from all of it.
Yeah, because with in that place, like, what is there to worry about? There's no, there's no more. I'm not worried about having to go fulfill my desire to go eat a bag of popcorn because I'm hungry. And that creates great stress and anxiety in my life. That and many other desires. So
I've been kind of fighting with Bob on that. I just sort of go into it and like, oh, all right, this is what you want. All right, Baba. and then other times I'm like, I don't think Baba really wanted that. I don't think Baba really wished that for me. I think that was just on my own accord of like, that's what I wanted. And I had the idea that I was going to color it like he wanted it.
And it's all very simple, but then you say, well, that's what Baba wants, and this is what I want, and everything. That you get a duality going, a dichotomy going there. Eventually, that all kind of merges into one, and it actually doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter who it belongs to, but just that there's only one belongingness. Oh, I'm doing this over here, and Baba wants me to do that over there.
Yeah, it's hard for me to get that out of my head, I think, or it's sort of being extricated from my mind, like that couldn't be Baba. That thing right there, that's not Baba. That can't be Baba because it doesn't feel like him. But then it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's very, I mean, we're coming after lifetimes. We have all these constructions
Yes.
that are not just like little opinions, they're like formations that have to get dismantled, you know.
Yeah.
But
Like Crystal Scream.
I think the fun is that if you get kind of enthusiastic about this stuff, and the enthusiasm will fuse everything you're doing together. In other words, if you're enthusiastic about getting closer to Baba, and you're not doing that well, but your enthusiasm binds it all together. It fuses it all together.
Mm.
You know, I mean, you guys are kind of there trying to get to a deeper place. That enthusiasm that's driving you is the wholeness.
I feel like the word for me wouldn't be enthusiastic. I don't know. When the enthusiasm to me comes with a smile or something that maybe I don't understand the word enthusiasm, but it feels like for me it's like a
Enthusiasm, Theo, God living through you or with you, enthusiasm. But anyway, that's
It's that primal drive, that original whim, that is at work, and it manifests in each person differently, you know. And we're just such unique facets of that diamond, that it's, you know, thank God that one size did not fit all, because Baba is so multifaceted and we're just facets of that beautiful diamond. And he loves to draw us to him in his own way, exactly according to our own sanskaric pattern and past and future and present disposition.
And the thing that drives you through it, another word for enthusiasm will be a longing or a drive that gets you to want to go for broke. You want to get to the bottom of all of this. You want to get at the heart of all of this. Even if you're failing right and left, you're still going for it. That carries you all the way.
Yeah, I get this imagery of being when I look within, it's like being in a like a very sandy desert, and I don't know any direction, and I'm like holding on to this whatever is like attached to like the the rope of a camel that's pulling me through this sandstorm, and I'm like have my eyes closed, and the sand is like beating at my body, and then I'm really really thirsty, and I just want like a drop of water, and it's like how much do you want the jet drop to like satiate your lips that it's like burning, and you're like, you just know that you have that feeling and it's burning, and you're like, I don't want to die, but you are, but you still have to hold on to something, you have to hold on to him. I feel like that's the imagery for me of like, which is why I said enthusiastic. Would you call that character in that example enthusiastic, or would you say he's desperate?
Desperate is better than enthusiastic. Enthusiastic is kind of the beginning, when you get the carrot dangled in front of you and you go for it and you grab it and it's so delicious and you want more.
Right, come to this desert oasis. Come on,
and
you're like, yeah, sure.
We got a two-headed dog over here. Come here.
He might let you take one or two more bites, but that's it.
I mean, I was having fun in the city, and then they just said to go through this oasis now, and
yeah, I mean, people like Jeff who are just, oozing out joy is kind of rare. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't even pay it any mind.
The rest of us poor suckers are like, struggling here. Anyway, that was totally out of school, and we're being recorded. I'm gonna go get some dark chocolate.
It depends.
I forgot.
Can I read something from Rumi?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Sorry, Dick, guys. Your hand's raised here.
Yeah, it's okay. Uh, it's something my daughter has stuck up on the window.
Good.
Lose yourself. Lose yourself in this love. When you lose yourself in this love, you will find everything. Lose yourself. Lose yourself. Do not fear this loss, for you will rise from the earth and embrace the endless heavens. Lose yourself. Lose yourself. Now enter that silence. This is the surest way to lose yourself. For guide has entered this life in silence. This message is only heard in silence. Take a sip of his precious wine and lose yourself. Rumi.
Beautiful. Yeah. Wow.
Beautiful.
That's wonderful that your daughter is thinking along those lines.
Oh yeah, she's very much into yoga, meditation, and
Yeah.
you know, all that kind of stuff.
You are lucky.
That's beautiful.
I don't know. Yeah, I thought they were beautiful words.
Yeah.
And I've been wanting to share it with you all.
Yeah.
I just came across this one right on the path. Mind if I share?
Yeah.
It's very short.
Sure.
Very short. Your ceaseless strife will come to an end. I will wash away your impurities. I will take away the dry and barren wanderings of your mind. I will take away your fruitless worries. Think of me in joy and in sorrow. Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Think of me in joy and in sorrow. Wow. That's beautiful.
You know, I remember Merwan Jesawala saying to me, what we have to do is turn our awareness is on objects. It's on me, on my personality, it's on the things in this room. The awareness itself is who we are. But what happens is it gets thrown on objects and we get into the objects. And so we lose, we fritter away who we are. But what he says is that awareness has to turn around on itself. Consciousness has to stop being focused on objects and turn around and focus on consciousness itself. And that's realization. Then the wholeness is restored. But, you know, how to focus on objects and not be identified with them. That's the trick.
That's like not being identified with. I mean, I think in the for extreme example, Jeff, I think of being attached to, like, for example, my mother, her form, you know, like being attached to her form being the way it is, and if she was to say that form was to fall away, then all of my attachments, those strings of attachments, would be worked at. I mean, it would just be, I would have to work with all of that. I mean, not that. I mean, I don't know if you meant object as in like my cell phone. Like if I dropped my cell phone in the toilet when I was peeing, that would suck. I would be really.
Yeah.
You know, do you mean object like that, or object like the literal?
Well, I mean,
objects
your
in space?
personality, you know, Matt Manoukian is one of the major objects that your consciousness is addicted to.
Absolutely.
I mean, so how can you, and see, in other words, like say it's a sunny day out and people say, wow, see the sun over on the field? See the sun on the rooftop over there? No, it's not on the rooftop. The sun's not on the field. It's up in the sky. We're making that kind of colossal mistake. Oh, you know, God is you know, that divine consciousness is falling on you know, the most petty things. So it gets brought down and made petty. I mean, Baba said that, you know, our consciousness, we're really infinite. But, I mean, this is kind of the figure he has. But you look down and you see this mind. Oh, hey, I think I'll check out this mind. And so you look, you identify with that mind, and then Baba says you become a person. If you wouldn't get suckered in by that mind down there, you wouldn't become a person. You would remain infinite. But now this is something that I found is really valuable, was very valuable in my life, and I don't know if I can explain it, but there is an invisible current in all of us. There's an invisible current coming out of your heart, but most people, the invisible current's going to I, me, and mine. That current, if it was reversed, it could flow out to life and flow into Baba. Then you are, and not stop. When that current's flowing, but someone comes in the room, you don't like them, that flow stops. That current stops. If you could flow through that person that you don't like, if you could flow through that person, if you could flow through your mother, if you could flow through the walls, if you could flow through trees, you would be infinite. But what happens is it comes and it starts to flow and it hits, you know, Alan Manukian, and bam, boy, it got stopped there, you know. And, you know, so, and then this Alan Manukian guy just grabs all the consciousness for himself, puts it to work, you know, on his career and his fame and his, you know, his reputation and his, it gets all, but if that could flow through, where you become a vehicle and not a base of operations.
The clock.
Yeah. But
You know, I like the one you mentioned the other day, Jeff.
Yeah.
Something about Mandali and then they being just a tree with hollow trunk. And that appealed to me quite a bit for some reason. And then these days, I try to think like that. I mean, thing flowing out from my, you know, deep, I mean, somehow identify heart to the real heart, this side, you know. And then I try to visualize that, you know, when I pray, it just flows out from here. And then I assume there's nothing up here, basically, it just goes, you know, that kind of thing. I really like that example. Beautiful it was. And can I share something quick? I mean, yeah. I don't know if it is related, but I found something that somebody asked Baba, a college professor asked Baba, what is life? Baba looked at him with a smile and replied, life is a mighty joke. He who knows this can hardly be understood by others. He who does not know it feels himself in a state of delusion. He ponders over this problem day and night, but finds himself incapable of knowing it. Then Baba goes, why? People take life seriously and God lightly, whereas we must take God seriously and life lightly. Then we know that we always were the same and will ever remain the same, the originator of this joke. This knowledge is not achieved by reasoning, it is born of experience. Yeah. And that's what I think is important. Remember you talked about it, enthusiasm. I like that because enthusiasm internally, I mean, to know yourself, and also towards a thing externally. I mean, wherein we take things so lightly, they just happen. I mean, you can't stop them because they're part of your life. And that lightness, and if we can develop, then suddenly, you know, things can become more in line with how they should be. I mean, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that lightness, I mean, sometimes that's what I feel. You should be so light. I mean, imagine yourself being like a feather flying, you know, being kicked around. It doesn't matter. And that sort of state
Yeah.
is something which might help out.
A state of flow.
Yeah.
And proactively, but then, you send the flow over to Alan and it just stops and gets all reduced. Oh my God.
Well, I tell you, it can get
Why flows that guy?
it can get very complicated in small things in life, which I see. You know, I'll give you a small example. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I play tennis with people here, and we end up with an odd number of people. I mean, it's always 3 people. It's never 4, and sometimes it's 2, of course, and it's okay. When we play, 2 guys are on one side and the other person on the other side. So it may so happen that it used to happen with me, and I used to be on the side sometimes with the other guy, 2 people playing on one side, there is 1 guy on the other side. And I found out the other guy is actually very good, the one who's playing on single. He's very good. He would hit the ball to a person next to me because he's a better player too, I agree. So it seemed like I was simply a spectator to a ball going back and forth between these guys. And I used to get so irritated. This is so simple. I mean, such a small thing in life, but it did become big for me. And then over the time, I tried to realize, how can I fix this in my mind? And then I said, then I started taking Baba's name constantly there. And that worked. And then I went to the next step, wherein I said, well, maybe it's because I'm not playing that well, so let me try. So, and then what I would do is I'll take Baba's name and say that, look, I will hit the ball such that the other person enjoys hitting it back to me, that kind of thing. So, I mean, these are small things that I try to work with. And then now it's become a pleasure. It doesn't matter which combination it is. Things always work right. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a whole internal thing that you've done. It's not just an external thing. You've had to move the machinery around, the furniture around inside of you to make that happen.
I don't know if it's related to what we're talking about, but suddenly I just thought.
You were able to flow. Now you can flow in the game rather than get
caught up in all these silly things that happen around.
Yeah.
Well, in this analogy of talking about, flowing, I'm just curious, we're describing like flowing outside of yourself and not allowing the flow to be focused on the I, me, and my internally. But I'm curious, like, what about what we were talking about before about going to the deeper, deeper heart? What about just directing the flow there, or is flowing outward the same thing as directing the flow to that deeper self?
Yeah. No, I said that. You may not have heard. You flow out to life and flow into Baba. But it's the flow. You can tell when the flow.
You're saying like when you're flowing out, the focus isn't just flowing out into the world, but it's it's with the focus of Baba being in the world. Like I'm just trying to wonder what the pitfall is in the focus of flowing out, so that it doesn't become a pitfall, if that makes sense. Yeah,
I mean, it can also flow in and hit attitudes that you have, and get stopped. Mm-hmm. The flow starts and then it hits. You're such a, you can't live for Baba. You're not really obeying him. You're not really thinking of him. So it hits that thought and stops the flow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it can be internal, or it can be get stopped by external things. Mm-hmm. And yet, I mentioned this to you before. I was walking some years ago. I was walking from the tomb back to the Pilgrim Center, and I just walking across the field there, and Baba flashed to me, "Don't look at anything in this world unless you're prepared to send it love."
Yeah.
rather than, oh, I don't like that. I mean, that's not right. That's not good.
And
That person.
what do you mean by don't look at anything? Like, is that a metaphor?
Yeah, I mean, flow out, basically saying flow out to life. Don't be judgmental or critical about it. If you're going to be critical then of someone, well, then put your attention someplace else where you can flow. Basically, Bob was saying, you're wasting time. You're wasting precious time being judgmental or critical. Send love to this world. As bad as it is in places, send love rather than send your disapproval of it.
Yeah, I love that focus.
How do you send love?
Who's that?
I said, how do you send love?
I mean, like I say, there's that current.
But in a natural way. I mean, do you stop and focus your attention, or is it natural, or what is it that you're?
It's mainly natural. And I mean, I always kind of put Baba's name with it. I send everything Baba's name with whatever is in the flow, in the current. For years I didn't, but then I started putting Baba's name in the flow.
I love that perspective of shifting your focus on anything, that you might be being critical to, because then that also that also pertains to yourself. Like, I was just catching myself being critical of myself, and so then this is, as soon as I have that awareness, a perfect opportunity to go focus on something else.
Yeah, or flow through that negative thought you have about yourself. Flow through it.
Right.
Be aware of the negative thought, but also flow through it.
Right.
So you're not repressing anything. You feel a disgust for somebody, feel the disgust, but flow through it anyway. We can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Right.
We can react negatively and flow at the same time.
I think something like forgive and forget, but that also applies to you. You also forgive yourself, and also that way you can start forgiving others, I guess.
So I have a story to tell you guys, which all this discussion reminded me of an incident at the Chicago Aquarium. We were visiting there with family, and I think it was during my yoga days where I was practicing, a lot of meditation. And I decided this beautiful whale was in this ginormous tank and just swimming around. And I decided I was going to send it love. So I stood in front of the glass and I just poured my heart out toward this whale. And the whale just kind of took a real surprise, turned around and just kind of checked me out and see what the hell is she doing. And I just kept at it. I just kept sending her love, her or him.
Yeah.
And she went around a couple times, and then the third time she came around back, she sent it back.
Yeah.
And Jeff, I fell backwards. I literally fell backwards and fell on the ground. It was so powerful.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that is all that can all happen. It's really true. Beautiful.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah. No, and the thing too is Baba's in the whale. I mean, you think, well, Baba's only in human beings. That's He's right there behind them too.
Well, they're pretty evolved, if I
Yeah.
understand correctly.
Well, anyway, I think I might. I mean, well, unless there's any burning question here.
There's one thing I will
Yeah.
wrap up with. I thought of this. I thought of you earlier today, Fereshteh, when I read this, and I'm curious if anybody knows more about this story. In the Meher Baba Danyan website that has kind of like a synthesis and compilation of Baba sayings on a particular topic.
Yeah,
One of the
that was done by a guy who lives here. His name is Markar.
Okay.
He's blind, but he's done incredible work on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so under the category of spiritual places, it says, Baba said that Chicago was a spiritually important city, and that's all that it says. That's the only line there. It's in Lord Meher, Volume 8. And I just was curious if anybody knows the context of what he's referring to, or if there is one.
If I recall correctly, and Jeff, correct me if you know the story differently. Norina was giving talks, and she went to Chicago, and hardly anybody showed up to her talk in Chicago. You know, it wasn't quite the numbers she was seeing in New York and so forth. And so she went to Baba and said that, you know, I don't know what's up with Chicago. Hardly anybody was there. The room was half empty, and there are lots of empty seats. And Baba said, don't worry about it. Chicago has importance spiritually.
Yeah.
And Baba did visit Chicago twice.
Yeah. Yeah. Upasi Maharaj is asked why, you know, you have these big cities like Bombay and Calcutta and Paris and everything. And he said, and this is Upasni way back when, that these are places where masters had lived, and it creates a great spiritual charge, and then people are drawn to these places.
Wow.
So the foundation has been laid by masters in the past, and so people are drawn to these places.
There was a reference about that on the same page that I was reading about Baba commenting on how you feel. Here it is. I will tell you why you feel happy here. He's referring to the spiritual abode for one and all. Let's see. I'm so sorry. Maybe, yeah, he's talking about the Baba Center. I'll tell you why you feel happy here. Those of you who feel connected with me ought to feel happy here for two reasons. Ages ago, this was a place where Baba visited, moved about, and stayed. And the combination of the lake, ocean, and the woods gives it a unique atmosphere. And I was blown away by that. This was the first time I've ever heard that reference of, like, you know, places being built up because of past masters visiting that place, but specifically related to the Baba Center. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah,
and you have to wonder what Advent that would have been, because it certainly wasn't in the 6 Advents that we know about.
Yeah. Yeah, Baba said he'd been to Myrtle Beach before and Meher Mount before. And when he was going into Western Carolinas, he said, this part of the country has a spiritual atmosphere. And he rarely said that about an area. He might say a tomb, you know, is responsible for spiritual atmosphere. So I have a feeling he was probably a Native American, and he had his whole area up there and then down here, and somehow he made it out to Meher Mount.
Could it be, this is a total conspiracy theory, but to end on a light note, well, I won't, never mind. I won't end on that note.
No, good.
Why not? Come on, don't hold back.
I just had the tickled thought that, you know, how there's that Indian burial mound on the center.
Yeah.
I just had the tickled thought of, you know, maybe that's where you know, one of Baba's advents, you know, Baba's body from a past advent is buried from the time of when he was, you know, in India, a Native American. So anyway, complete conspiracy theory. Don't listen to this. Just a funny thought I had.
Well, here's what someone told me. I didn't hear it, but Mariji gave a talk about when Baba was here on the center. I think it was 56. and they ran, I guess they were kind of running and playing tag or something, Baba and the men, on their way over, I guess, to Baba's house, and they ran around that mound. Baba ran around that mound. Now, I haven't heard the tape, but it has, you know, it's a talk, an audio talk that Mariji gave that tells a lot about things that Baba did that no one knew about. I mean, he, you know, when Baba wasn't among the public, when he was on his own with the men Mandali, how they carried on. So he filled in some blanks.
This is the mound on the way to Baba's house.
Baba's house, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, well,
sorry, Jay. Sorry, Jeff. One more thing, since you're talking about spiritual places, did Baba ever mention anything about Sedona or Mount Shasta? Because I mean, I've heard in the past that these are very spiritually charged places.
I never heard that he did, but you know, you can imagine that there's some great souls in those places. Mount Shasta especially. And Baba did say that about LA was the closest in the Western world to the Om Point.
Oh, okay.
In the Gross
Yeah.
Plains. So California, California has a spiritual atmosphere. I felt. You know, I lived there, and it has a kind of a there's a kind of a timeless quality to it, like India has.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. So, Alan, what's, you know, just what's your conclusion?
I don't have one. I don't know. I was gonna say that basically I've come across because I used to be around a lot of the Native American, actual indigenous people in Sedona and Mount Shasta areas, and actually part of my coming to Baba was, I mean, a long time when I was younger, around 18, I had some experiences at Mount Shasta that were pretty you know, beyond, you know, the norm, but yeah, there's people there that you know how to communicate with the natural world and are very in tune with you know, life, and that's all I could say really. It's very they do feel spiritually or energetically charged in some way. It's very beautiful spots.
And there, some places like that have no charge at all, like Nashville and. Oh.
That's fire.
Hey, well, let's. It's 12:20.
Yeah.
Matt, are you? What time zone are you? Is it 11:20 there?
Yeah, it's central. No, we're it's 12:20 right now.
No, it's
oh my God.
Sorry, no, I'm on another watch. Yeah, no, it's central, so we're an hour behind you guys.
Okay, see you guys.
See you later.
Bye, Jeff. Bye, everyone.
Great seeing everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Jay Baba.
Jay Baba.
Bye, Baba.
Jay Baba.